All right, good morning, folks. My name is Torrin Radiccioni from Sustainable CT. Thank you for joining us on the third Friday of March for our March coffee hour. Just a quick housekeeping of some Sustainable CT things that are going on before I get to our special guest. If any of you are aware or not aware, our certification deadline for this spring is April 10th. We'll be accepting submissions up until 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. If anybody has any questions on the qualifications for certification or even the steps, I'm going to post our certification overview page in the chat, as well as our email info@sustainablecT.org that will link to all of the Sustainable CT staffers. So we'll be there to answer and support you guys until the April 10th deadline. For those who aren't aware, we are actually broadcasting today, or publishing today, our 25th episode of The Impact, which is the Sustainable CT podcast. It's a great platform where we introduce some faces that are familiar to Sustainable CT, and we kind of sit down with them in a little more intimate setting. This month, we are featuring Nicole Chevalier, who is, in my opinion, the jack of all trades, a writer, a philanthropist, and as most importantly, a Sustainable CT board member. Nicole is a part of a small group of board of director members who will be representing a committee who's in charge of selecting our new executive director. With that being said, I'm going to post a link to the impact in the chat. If anybody wants to give a listen on the car ride home today, or even while they're, out enjoying the nice weather. But with that being said, you should be receiving an invitation soon as a save the date for our spring into summer event, which is live and in person at Wickham Park at June 11th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're coming full circle back to the place where we celebrated those who participated in creating Sustainable CT with a party in the park in July of 2017, which is Wickham Park. This year, in addition to celebrating the progress of Connecticut communities that have made over the years, we hope you'll join us in bidding farewell to our wonderful retiring executive director, Lynn Stoddard, who's on this coffee hour today. We'll be providing a light fare and good cheer, and beautiful Wickham Park will be providing the ambiance. Again, June 11th, 4 to 7 p.m. Make sure you mark your calendars. With that being said, as the great Michael Buffer, if anybody's familiar with any kind of boxing or professional wrestling, and now for the main event. CJ May has been working in the world of recycling since he first climbed on a recycling truck in 1988. For 22 years, he served as a recycling coordinator for Yale University. Now he works as the refuse and recycling coordinator for the city of Waterbury, a city that supports 110,000 people. During all this time, he's worked with our co-hosting organization today, the Connecticut Recyclers Coalition. He has served as a board member and a president, and he currently serves as a treasurer for the organization. During his tenure, however, he added something new to his toolbox of educational tools: a magic wand. Learning magic from a local magician allowed him to share the magic of recycling literally with thousands in Connecticut, throughout the US, and even overseas. Today, without further ado, please welcome our presenter, Mr. Cyril John, CJ May.
Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Thank you so much, Lynn, for captaining the ship for so many years and getting Sustainable CT to going where it is now, to helping so many communities. And thank you, Torrin and Jim, for welcoming me here. As Torrin said, I've been in recycling for a while, and so I'm happy to share some recycling tips for you in terms of outreach and education. And I think some of the things that we know, all of us may know or have learned on, and they've been written down and they're tried and true. But I think we also have to realize that there's some things that we can incorporate into our recycling programs that are just a little bit more fiery. And so we'll talk about the old and the bold and the fiery today. So let's get started to talk about what I think is the unsung hero of recycling education, the most important thing that people don't talk about. Taryn, if you could flick the slide there, go on there. What's the most important thing that we can really talk about? It is the Torrin. Next slide, please. The bin. The bin can be our curse and it can be our savior. And I believe, you can quote me on this, that the recycling bin is the most important educational tool of all. Unfortunately, many of us, maybe due to budget or just because the people who we're working with don't think they're important, might incorporate bins such as what you're seeing on the screen there and say, well, we do have trash bin left and we do have a recycling bin on the right, but nobody uses them properly. Well, they're right. They do have bins. They don't use them properly because they're not well labeled. They're not well designed for the purpose. So let's start talking about bins that can help us educate the public at the point of contact. And you have to realize whether you're talking about a curbside recycling program or a program inside a school or a business office, that the point of contact is when people walk up to a bin with a thing in their hand, a piece of paper or a hot dog, and they want to get rid of it right away. They need to know right away what to do with that item. And that is where I think we should focus a lot of our attention as recycling-focused staff and volunteers. So, Torrin, next slide, please, if you would. Here's an example of bins that I would really like to see more of. Now, this is, I believe they're Bush on the left-hand side, and I can't remember the name of the company on the right-hand side, but I think it might be Clean River. So you may or may not like the ones on the left-hand side, but let me talk about why I think the bins on the left-hand side are very helpful. They're a little busy. Yes, they're a little busy, but they need to be busy in order for people to understand. So why are they good? One is that the bins are alike and they're different. So the trash bin, which is the one that's black, and the blue one is for recycling, they look like they're a set, like your salt and pepper shaker. They go together as opposed to those scrawny bins that I showed you before with no labels. So if I'm walking down the hallway and I see those bins, I instantly know they're together. They're giving me a choice. There's something similar. Quickly, I also understand that they're slightly different because they're blue and black, and then of course green, and then the other bin for the specialty items on the far right. So wait a minute, how are we doing this? Then they have images. The galvanized trash can that's depicted on the black trash background sign is kind of universal, at least in the United States. That's trash. That sends the message to a person who's walking by and very busy that it's trash. Now, it also says the words trash, but I have to admit, having worked at Yale for 22 years, worked with people who have PhDs and get amazing awards for their efforts and are absolutely brilliant, they are not reading words when they're walking down the hallway. Nobody is. Yale students, we're all busy talking to each other. We're busy thinking. We want to have an image. And so I think it's important that our recycling bins not only contain the word trash or recycling, but they also contain an image of what's to go inside. So it's hard to depict a million trash items, so that galvanized trash can is a pretty good thing. Next to it, you can see a few pictures of cans and bottles with the recycling symbol. That recycling symbol is also very important. I've seen people put out recycling bins that don't have recycling symbols on them. Recycling symbols import not only for multi-ethnic audiences with multi-languages, such as we have here in Waterbury, but also, again, because people do not read words so easily when they're walking and talking. So that recycling symbol on the blue bin on the left is helpful. So we have different colors, special colors. We have images, that's good. We have words. Those are three enforcing factors. Here's one of my other favorites. Here's another term to learn, restrictive lid. Restrictive lid, what's that? The restrictive lid means the round thing goes in the round hole, the flat thing goes into the flat hole. This is back to when we were in kindergarten. Now we think, oh, we're adults, we don't need that. Well, that's why I like the bins on the left better than the bins on the right. Even though the bins on the right are fairly good, they're not truly restrictive lids. I can put almost anything into either one of those holes. Whereas the blue bin and the green bin obviously are for paper and for cans and bottles. Now, single stream recycling often causes people to use a special bin that is both. It looks like the planet Saturn from an angle. It is round and a slot. That really reduces contamination because people kind of realize that's a special bin. That's not for my hot dog. That's not for, a big bag of trash. So restrictive lids, I think, are very important. To my mind, a recycling bin without a restrictive lid instantly becomes a trash can to most passersby. They will toss whatever they have into it. Here's another factor making these very important. They are together. Adjacency is very important in terms of recycling. When we first started the recycling program at Yale, I had a problem going to a fancy lounge. And I said, we need some recycling bins here. And they said, yeah, we'll do that. And they put recycling bins every 10 feet around the perimeter. And they were proud. They were trying to help recycling. They were not poorly intentioned. They were well-intentioned. But they scattered recycling bins around the room, and they were not adjacent to trash cans. Guess what happens? The recycling bins become trash cans, because if I'm having a cocktail with you and chatting about something that's really wonderful, I'm not going to walk over with my napkin to the trash can that's 20 feet away. I'm going to throw that napkin into whatever's right near me, and that recycling bin was near me. So you need to have recycling and trash bins adjacent. This can become difficult in places where people are moving things around. The big bins on the right here, the green and the black ones, they're pretty heavy. People might move them, but not likely. The bins on the left, they can easily be moved if there's a party. Sometimes, and I think this manufacturer might even have them, has a brace that you can use to attach the suckers together so that people can't steal them. We had this as a big problem at Yale's football games. We would put trash and recycling bins together, come back an hour later, and somebody would have grabbed the recycling cart, because it had nice wheels, dragged it over to their tailgate, and dumped all their charcoal bits into it because it was easy and they wanted to get it cleaned up now and leave. So sometimes you have to actually restrict the recycling bins to make sure they do not move. So those are difficult. Let's talk about what we've been doing in terms of curbside. If you could have us to the next slide, please. Torm. All right. I'm very proud of this, even though it's a modern step. So the bin on the right, the green cart with the yellow lid, is Waterbury's current curbside recycling container. We have 65 and 95 gallon. The sign on the right there is the lid. That's an in-mold label. And the words "your new bar" is part of a Facebook post. Don't worry about that. But I was very happy when we launched our program in 2017 because we got permission to do several things. Unfortunately, Waterbury has been using blue carts for trash for years. Blue is kind of the standard recycling color around the country. So in the head of public works says we're not switching. It would have been chaos. So we kept blue as trash. And so we had arguments about what to go for green carts. So we said we're going to go with green with carts. And then the public works director argued for a yellow lid. I thought that was going to be ugly. I thought it was not going to be good. No. But I'm so glad that he prevailed, and we have a green cart with a yellow lid, because I realize many private hauling companies have green carts with green lids that are for trash. And if we had a green cart with a green lid, to many people just passing on the street, and again, people don't read, they don't pay attention, it would have been a trash cart. But because it's the green with the yellow lid, it sticks out. Very few carts in Connecticut have a green cart with a yellow lid. People know this to be the recycling cart. That's great. Another thing I argued for, and this is especially as if your municipality is going to be going out for bid again to purchase more recycling carts. If you look on the side, you will see it has a recycling symbol. Get the recycling symbol on your cart. Many municipalities just put the seal on the side. And so I see a number of municipalities that have the same seal on the side of the trash cart and the recycling cart. Which is which? People don't pay attention. We need the recycling symbol there. So that's important. Don't just have the seal, have the recycling symbol, and it costs you nothing more. It's just tell them what you want, and they're happy to do that. However, I will give you a word of caution about this beautiful in-mold label on the top. A lot of people don't read the in-mold label because, frankly, unless you're tall like me, you don't necessarily see the in-mold label. Another thing is in-mold labels, which are beautiful, last for only a few years in full ultraviolet rate. So if I keep my recycling cart in the garage or out of the sunlight, that label may still be on my cart. But most of the in-mold labels that we got from 2017 in Waterbury have faded and eroded. They're gone. They're unusable. So I do not recommend in-mold labels to get them unless you're using them indoors. They collapse. And so it's a waste of your time. New Haven tried to come back and put labels on its recycling carts. And I and other volunteers did that. They also died basically within 12 months. The ultraviolet radiation from sun is so powerful, it erodes almost any label in a fairly quick period of time. So stickers also are not a good thing outdoors. So what I recommend now, and if we're buying new carts in Waterbury, we are also going to put a hot stamp on the top of the cart, the same way we have the hot stamp on the side. Now, you can't go into the great detail that you see on this InMold label. You can't get into multiple colors, but you can simply have recycling, another language, Espanol, reciclaje, the recycling symbol, and maybe a few pictures of normal things like cans, bottles, and papers, and then the contact information. That's it. But at least it's telling you this is not a trash can. It's giving you the basics. So I think that go for the hot stamp, not the InMold label. I love the InMold label. Now, on the front, and I don't know if you can see, is my cursor visible, Torin? My cursor, my mouse cursor? No, it's okay. So if you look in the front of the cart, just above the stop bar, that's over on the left-hand side, you'll see a bunch of little text, and those are the words. There you go. Just go down a little further, and then, that's it right there. Those are the serial numbers for the carts, and they'll print anything you want, but they generally go in successive order, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, whatever. I asked them either, I don't know, 13 digits. I said, can you please start it with 2017? Because that was the year we purchased the cart. So all the serial numbers are 2017000001, 00002, but they all start with 2001. And that way, we know when the cart was manufactured and came to us. Because over the years, we buy many different carts from many different manufacturers, and I want to know how old they are because I want to see whether they're breaking or not. This is important also for your trash carts because we have people complain and say, you broke my trash cart. Well, if we have an agent say, hey, listen, that cart's 10 years old, then we know it's past its expiration date. And it wasn't necessarily our crew being a problem. It was the cart has gotten old. Carts break after 8, 10, 12 years because they're in the cold, they're in the heat, the ultraviolet radiation destroys them, they wear out. So I suggest that you consider just ask them. And again, it costs you nothing more to have your serial numbers start with the year that you're buying them. And that just gives you a little bit more reference. It gives your crew something else to work with. Torin, please, let's go with the next one. Okay, oops tags. I read in a study somewhere that oops tags are one of the single most important ways to encourage recycling for curbside recycling. Sorry, I can't cite that report here. So what is an oops tag if you don't know it? An oops tag is a tag that generally a driver of a recycling truck would put onto the recycling cart when they see the wrong stuff inside. So this driver, I think, probably didn't pay attention. They checked all those little boxes. But note, it's a big sticky tag. I don't have to use tape. It says oops at the top, which I'm hoping is also universal to most people who can read. Oops. On the left-hand side, and it may be hard to read, is English, 2 paragraphs. The right-hand side is the same stuff in Spanish. Waterbury has between 30 to 60% residents who have Spanish-speaking households. So Spanish is very important for us. And then we have down here, please keep these items out. And so I can check the boxes. The most problems we have are probably what you have, plastic bags. We have a lot of plastic bags. So I often am checking plastic bags on the left-hand side. And even if I did not speak Spanish, then I could just simply go across to the right and check bolsas, even if I didn't understand that bolsas means bag in Spanish. So this is a way for a non-Spanish speaking driver to give information to both English and Spanish speakers. Really important. At the bottom, we say, thank you. We're not trying to be mean. This is not a ticket. It's not $25. It's information. Then there is the contact information at the bottom, our website, our phone number, the city seal, and again, a recycling symbol at the bottom to help people know what this is about. So this, I think, is a very important thing to say. Let's go to the next one, though. However, we also have a different oops tag, and this one's just for plastic bags. This means because bags are such a problem, I will often find carts that contain good quality recycling, but it's in plastic bags, or somebody's added some plastic bags in there. And so I will often pull that plastic bag out so it's half hanging out of the cart, put the plastic bag sticker on it, and not necessarily that orange sticker, because I don't want the driver to think, oh, this cart is fully contaminated, I better get rid of it. I just want to have the owner of the household know, hey, you basically are doing a good job, just no plastic bags, please. And I find I'm using a lot of these no plastic bag stickers quite a lot because there are many well-intentioned people out there who don't know that plastic bags are a problem. So this is neat, and that's why I put it generally on the bag, not the cart. Now, this is an interesting thing of why are these supposedly the most helpful? Well, one is you're giving the information directly to the resident. Another reason I've heard that oops tags are helpful is that it's a peer pressure factor. And this probably is more of an issue in fixed neighborhoods where people own their homes and they're going to be staying there for year after year after year. They don't like to come home from work and find that there's a big yellow or orange tag on their recycling cart. They're like, oh, what did I do wrong? My neighbors are going to think that I did something wrong. They care about their community around them because this is their long-term residence. In multifamily renting neighborhoods where we have in Waterbury, we find that residents may not care as much. Some do. Some care so strongly, but others may not care as much about their neighborhood because that's their neighborhood for 6 months or 12 months. So oops tags have a factor, but I think some of the factor is actually peer pressure. Can we go on to the next one, please, Soren? In this, I like to do, in a world where we're being told, you're bad, you're doing stupid things, we have so much negativity, I've been also using a green star tag. Now, this one is actually wimpier. This is not a full sticky back. This is basically a Post-it note. But we have it in English and Spanish, and I put them on either the cart or often on the the door of the people to say, good job. You're doing a good job. Thank you. And gosh, in a world where people, oh, those recycling people are telling me now I'm doing wrong because I put my bag into my recycling bin, people are ready to be angry at you. Let's show people some compassion and some thank you. Now, this is not only good just to thank that household, but when you do thank that household, I'm hoping they also tell their neighbors, hey, guess what happened to me today? I got a green star tag on my recycling bin for doing a job. Oh yeah, high five. You're spreading goodness, and so that you're hopefully recycling success becomes positivity in your community, and it's a part of your community in a way that's not just cans and bottles in one bin and trash in the other. So think about a green star tag that would be appropriate for your community. Okay, let's go on and give another one here. Here's one thing we have to use once in a while. And this is, I don't use it all that often, but unfortunately it's common enough. In Waterbury, parking is abysmal. And so we often have people who carts are blocked, or they put the carts too close together, or they're right next to an object. In many of our neighborhoods, we're using what's called a one-armed bandit truck to pick up the recycling. And that means a big robot arm comes out of the side of the truck, grabs the cart, tips it, and then puts it back down again. The driver never even gets out of the truck most of the time. But if there's a car in front, or if the carts are right next to each other, that arm cannot grab around the sides of the cart. And here's a little toy here for you. So here's the cart at the curb, and if the cart has to be able to grab around the side and then tip it. But if the trash cart and the recycling cart are right next to each other, the arm can't grab around it. A lot of people don't know this. So we're just, again, trying to give them information to help them do the right thing. And again, all of this doesn't have Spanish. At least there's some pictures there. Okay, let's move along. We've got some more things to talk about. Torin, if you could. Thank you. Social media. So wait, this is a picture of the cart. We just talked about carts. Social media. I feel that social media, even though we love it and hate it, is an amazing, amazing tool. This picture right here, I believe, was viewed by 13,000 Facebook users when we were launching our program back in 2017. That's about 10% of Waterbury's population. And it cost us zero. We wanted to have everybody know that the program was coming before it came. And so I was building up on Waterbury Recycling's Facebook page. Yes, Waterbury Recycling has a Facebook page. I strongly suggest you do that. I strongly suggest you consider Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Find out what social media platforms are popular in your community. And I know it's a pain. Get used to it. You don't even have to post a lot. You don't have to post fancy. You just post a few things like this picture. Posting this picture got this out because people shared it. I didn't reach 13,000 directly. I don't have 13,000 followers for Waterbury Recycling, but because it was such a big thing that people have been waiting for, people shared it on their Facebook page. So this was a huge thing. So Facebook is something that I think can be very, very helpful in terms of reaching the public with some basic messages. Okay, next slide, please, Tor. And here's another thing. This is my boss. At that time, he wasn't my boss, 2017. He was a coworker of mine. His name is Roy. He's now the head of the Refuse Bureau, but he's a Waterbury resident as well as being a refuse department worker. And so asked him, can I take a picture of you with the cart? He said, sure. Took a picture of him with the cart because we were trying to showcase this before we launched the program. And then I posted and it said, hey, Roy Thompson's showing off Waterbury's recycling cart. I tagged Roy Thompson on Facebook. All of a sudden, all these people were finding this, hey, attaboy, Roy, good job, Roy. All of a sudden, all Roy's friends now realize that Roy is involved with this. Roy gets a pat on the back on Facebook and in person from his friends. It's being spread virally, but in a nice, friendly way about the new recycling program. So tagging people, people that you know, especially cute kids, gets a lot of things, because even though the bin on the left is neat from my perspective, I like bins, faces and people rule. People want to see, when I put out Facebook posts and there's just a picture of something cool, I might get some likes. If I put out a picture with a similar image, but with people's faces and somebody holding it, even if they're not tagged as a particular person, way more shares and way more likes. Humans like human faces. So think about that and have somebody model whatever you're trying to showcase. That can make a big difference in terms of communicating to the public. They help sell your message. Okay, next one, please. Okay, speaking of cute kids, here's Cheech. So occasionally I will grab the tonnage that we got. So one month we did 479 tons of recyclables in Waterbury. Cheech is the son of one of my coworkers, and he's often coming into the office and we say hi. And I said, hey, I asked the dad, do you mind if I take a picture with him and use him as a poster boy for recycling? He said, nah, go for it. So I took a picture of Cheech just pointing up, and then I used a program to put in 479 tons above Cheech. And I posted that. I didn't even post his name because Cheech doesn't have a Facebook account. I just put, hey, showing off our recycling. And again, people saw my Facebook page for Waterbury Recycling and then, hey, Cheech, go Cheech. And then people started sharing it because it's a cute kid that they know. This information got around. And again, this was positivity. So even though I'm trying to say, hey, please don't put bags in, please don't, put styrofoam in, we want to share back the feedback. Great job, Waterbury. You did 479 tons of recycling last month. People need positivity, and you as a recycling person can help share that positivity, matching it with your own message. So please, positivity and cute kids. Okay, let's go on here, please. Okay, when we launched the program, we handed out print material. So print material is still important. So here's the flyer that we have. On this side, it's English. On the other side, it is Spanish. This went out with the carts at the beginning of the program. We also gave people in the packet a refrigerator magnet. And that's upside, yeah, right, the refrigerator magnet. And so this, I find the magnet to be even better because people will throw away this piece of paper pretty quick. But a fridge magnet is useful. And so people will put that in their fridge, even if they don't care about recycling, but it'll be there and it'll have the phone number and have the basics of recyclables, and it'll stay there forever because they want to put their cute kid pictures up behind the magnet. So a magnet is important. We still use this flyer when we deliver recycling carts now. Somebody loses a cart, somebody just moved in, they need a new bin, just a basic piece of information with one, put your stuff in here, this is the right stuff, put it at the curb. Very simple with your contact information. Okay, please move along if you would. Yeah, oh, there is the magnet. Again, it's English, it's Spanish. We have on top the stuff you can recycle, and on the bottom, the things that you can't recycle, or the most basic things, plastic bags, food, styrofoam, and then we also have other trash. So that's basic stuff that I think is going to be very helpful to get across. Torrin, again, please. Okay. In person, although you cannot reach everybody in person, especially in a city of 30,000 households, in person, I think, is a very valuable way to reach people. And I hope that you will consider in person the power that you have and other people in your team have in terms of reaching other people in person. Because I think just as we experienced during COVID, people crave contact. People are social. We used to live in small tribal groups where we had lots of contact. And so if you actually talk to somebody about trash or recycling, that just the fact that you're talking to them can make a huge difference. And I've run into this in many ways. And some people are very needy. Elderly often don't have any contact and they want to talk. I've also run into people into low income communities where they feel city officials like me don't care about them and don't respect them. And if I'm going around and I'm doing something and talking to them, I think they feel heard, you know? So I think in person really is valuable. And this is me at the beginning of the program a long time ago, going out there with a bag of information, those information packets and stuff like that. I had a big recycling symbol. Now going around with a big t-shirt with a big recycling symbol on it, I think is also helpful so that when somebody looks at me, they want to know, who is this guy? You know, he's a recycling guy. Okay, he's a recycling guy. And generally, even if you don't care about recycling, seeing that recycling symbol communicates that I'm probably fairly safe. It's okay for me to be knocking at your door. You know, and also just promotes the idea of recycling. So get that word out. Nike and McDonald's don't just put their symbols out once in a blue moon. They do it all the time. The Nike swoosh, the McDonald's M, the golden arches. Do that with your recycling symbol. Have that be your image, because it's important to have that always in their mind multiple times. Oh, please go ahead, Torin. Let's take a look at the next one. Getting out to events. My boss warned me, you're going to wear out your shoes. And so not only did I walk door to door sometimes, but I also would like to go to a lot of events before COVID. And again, you're talking to people. People come up and they say, hey, what about this? And, you know, can I get a bin? You know, all that back and forth interaction is not only helpful for me to give them information, but it's also helpful for information to come to me about problems that they see. I do not live in Waterbury, and so it was important for me to learn from Waterbury residents what their issues were, so I could better address them. And again, I've got the t-shirt with the recycling symbol on it, or get a coat, get a hat, something of that sort. Please go along to the next one. Okay, back to cute kids. Remember cute kids? I'll say it again, cute kids. So I don't know if you can read that, but it says, I am a wizard of Waterbury. I use the magic of recycling to change old into new. Now, it's not about me saying things. It's about this cute kid saying things. Kids are just cute. And there's recycling symbols there. And they're talking about that. And we're recycling that. Oh, the world is dying and I have to do my part. It's, I can do magic. So we'll get into the magic a little later, but I think we need to understand that, help people understand recycling is a kind of magic. Recycling can do the amazing thing. It takes away garbage and makes into the things that we want. But we have to put in the right ingredients into that potion. And so helping kids feel powerful as opposed to under a burden is important. And then this kind of picture, guess what? Very popular on social media with permission of the school or the students or the parents, whatever. But cute kids doing this gets a lot more share than just me or something like that. So remember, good kids, cute kids. Thank you, Torin. Next one, please. Here's something I'll get into a little bit more, but games. At community events, I've had sorting games, and you can do a basic thing of having a bunch of recyclables and a bunch of clean trash, and the kids have to sort which goes into the recycling bin and which goes into the trash bin. And often at these community events like this, you can see kids are running around and they're half wild. They want something to do. And the moms and dads are often happy to give them something to do. So the kids run back and forth and they sort stuff out, and they have a good time. And they're learning a little bit about recycling at the same time. You can coach, oh, no, you can't put the plastic bag in the recycling bin. You got to put that in the trash. Okay. Did they remember it tomorrow? Maybe they don't. But you're helping to build that muscle memory of what goes where. So that in-person contact can make that happen with games and other activities. The next one, please, Soren. All right. In person. This is the current version of my game, and I'm actually quite in love with it. It's quite a lot of fun. Let me hold on here. I call this game Tick-Tock Trash. So even though I enjoy going and doing magic shows for schools, I am often finding that I incorporate other things that are not actually magic. And one of the most successful bits is this game. So in Tick-Tock Trash, I have this felt board. I think I bought an educational store. I just divide it into two. I have one side for trash, one side for recycling. I have not only the words, but I also have the cart specific to our community. So that's further driving home what is what not. You want to have them understand. And then in this envelope, I have a bunch of photographs of items of trash and items of recycling with a little bit of Velcro on the back. I have a ticker on my iPhone. It's a app that goes tick, 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 tick. And after 45 seconds, a big bell goes off. Gong, gong, gong. So I challenge the kids. in 45 seconds to sort all of these envelope items into the correct side. So instead of me saying, you have to memorize all the recyclables and all the trash, which no one wants to do, I'm challenging them to know which ones go in which place. I go over it at the beginning of the contest so they know, and then I challenge them. And generally there's one kid that jumps up and wants to do it. So we have them do it, and I play the tick, 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 and they'll often do good. But while they're doing that, the other kids are haggling them. No, 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 don't put the plastic bag in the recycling. You got to put the plastic in the bag in the trash. And no, 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 the yogurt cup, you can recycle the yogurt cup. So the kids in the audience, also generally classmates, are getting into this contest, and the tick, tick, tick gives it a beat the clock kind of atmosphere. So the kids love this. The only problem is they like it too much. If I'm doing this show for 20 kids, each of the 20 kids wants to do the contest. I don't generally do it 20 times. I don't have time for that. But if I do it 3 times, that means everyone in the room has gone 3 times over the list of what can and can't be recycled in a way that has engaged them, not badgered them. So having a game like this, I think, could be a really wonderful way for you to incorporate some fun in-person teaching to your presentations, whether it's to a civic group. You could have adults do it, but they are scared. Kids don't care. They're brave. They want to do this. So there's a video of this on the Waterbury Recycling Facebook page. It's just about 20 seconds showing how this goes, but I'd be happy to share more with people. Torin, let's move along here. I want to make sure that we get ourselves in for some times and questions. Okay. One other thing to do is I include magic, and I include magic here, and this is actually me with a wallet that's on fire. So fire gets people's attention regardless of how old you are, as you saw with the book. But talking about money is important, because one thing I tell people in Waterbury is that our trash is not really getting the trash. Waterbury's trash now goes to Ohio. When you put stuff into the trash bin, it gets driven to Ohio. So it doesn't really disappear. But what does disappear is something that people in Waterbury probably care a lot more about. What disappears is their money. $3 million Waterbury spends on getting rid of trash, sending it to Ohio. But recycling is still a little bit cheaper. And so we as taxpayers can save some money by recycling more. And so when I say this to a civic group of adult taxpayers, whether they're Democrat or Republican or love recycling or don't recycling or whatever they might be, I say, shall we also save some tax money? They all nod yes, because every taxpayer wants to save money. And if they see that recycling is a way to save a little bit of that money, they're going to be more enthusiastic about the program. The same thing as pulling out a whole big gob of money like this. Kids don't understand money that much or taxes, but they do understand $3 million, and they all want money. And so they understand it's a civics lesson. So the in-person thing is you can share the civics of recycling, and that we can help save a little bit of tax money. All right, next one, please. So magic. Magic and recycling have been going together for quite some time, and we can certainly share more information about that with all of you. And I'm going to actually give you guys a final exam here, because we've been talking about magic. We've been talking about recycling. So Steve Trash is a guy who's been doing magic for a long time in recycling magic. And he can be seen at stevetrash.com. stevetrash.com. He's a full-time environmental science-based magician down south. And he has a book that you can get that will teach you some basic recycling and environmentally related magic tricks that you could use for your community. He also has some videos. He has music about recycling. So check out Steve Trash. He's been an inspiration for me for a long time. Now, let's go to the next one there, please. Here's Cyril the Sorcerer, my alter ego, and I don't often do Cyril the Sorcerer in Waterbury. Normally, I'm just CJ May with a recycling t-shirt on. Cyril the Sorcerer is a wizard, but you might think about, gosh, do you or somebody in your community like dressing up as a wizard, or what's appropriate to you? I like wizards, so that's what I was doing. You might think that there might be somebody else. A garbage gremlin was a character from a long time ago. What else might you do? Let's go on to the next one there, please. Yep, and when I perform, though, for grown-ups, generally I'm in regular Muggle clothing, but using these cute little toys are a couple of tricks that you can think about. You can get these on Amazon.com. Blue ones are easy to get. This one was harder to get, but I could find it. Find out what colors you are and use them. Put money in them. Do different things with them. These, what do you call them? Educational resources, visual aids are very helpful. You don't have to be a magician to do a few tricks that will get people to feel more engaged when you're talking to them. Let's go on to the next one. All right. We are here to our final exam. In Harry Potter, they had to do the owls. That was their final exam during one of the years. And I'm going to now challenge all of you. Now, if you can, turn your screen on, or I can see a bunch of other people. And here's a lesson that I try to share with everybody. It's a lesson that I think you would share with everybody. That this is not garbage. This, many people would think is garbage, and that's why I find it on the ground, because it's squashed. If it's squashed, I can't feed it into the machine. I can't get back what used to be a nickel and now is a dime. Sometimes I find these on the ground without the labels. So people think they're trash. Oh, but no. As recyclers, we want to share the message that we still want you to recycle this bottle. We want you to put it into your recycling bin, because even if we don't get the nickel or the dime, it can be recycled into a new bottle again. It can be recycled into a carpet, into a fleece jacket. It has some magic, but it needs your help. All of you need help. So everybody, get your fingers going. Get your fingers going. Come on, come on, come on, come on. All right, good. Pretend you're 6 years old if you feel stuffy. Oh, good, good, good. Good, you got the energies going. Get all the kids going here. That's good, that's good. You got the energy. You can relax your fingers. Don't use up all the energy. But I want you to make sure that you got the energy going. Now, point your hands at the bottle. Point your hands at the bottle. Come on, at the camera. And now begin to wave. Yes, like Torrin. Keep waving. Keep. Oh, my goodness. Keep waving. Keep waving. All of you have more magic than you ever imagined. Give yourselves a big round of applause. So that's a fun bit. That's one of the many recycling and magic, trash-related tricks that I do. Many magicians do a trick like that. If they use a bottle, they use it just to say, I've got mental powers and I can levitate this bottle. When I saw it, I said, what a great way to tell people that this bottle still has power. And then sometimes I've done the magic. I can make the bottle rise. But how much more powerful is it to have the kids do it? And then when the kids do it, they're going, oh my gosh, now these kids, forced to go to school and do classes, now have seen themselves as powerful. We are powerful. We did something. We can help save the world by recycling. And so giving the kids that sense of magic is important. Now, I try to also very much tell them recycling is a modern magic. I'm not suggesting supernatural issues. And in some communities, you have to be careful about that. I do not want people to think that I'm telling them that we are doing supernatural magic in the recycling bin. That is a modern magic that uses science to change old into new. But it's so cool, it's like magic. That is maybe an important differential, but for certain community members. I was one time asked not to perform a recycling magic show at a school where they had a number of people who, for religious reasons, do not want to see stage magic. I did juggling instead. They don't want to see stage magic because they feel that there is a ethical, moral, religious concern with the performance of magic tricks. And so I respected that. We didn't do it. We did something else. But do think about that within your community. Now, Torrin, I think we've come to the end. We have some more resources. Did I have any more slides? I can't remember. I think that's it. Good. So there's some resources that I can send along, hopefully to Torrin, and the team can send that along to people who are interested. And there are resources, Steve Trash, for instance. Oh, actually, just one more slide. Yeah, there's one more slide, I believe, Torrin. It's just my contact information. Should be in there. And that way you can get a hold of me if you have further questions. And yeah, so that's me. That's my non-Waterbury one. CJ Searle, that's all fine. That's my cell phone number. To look at a little bit of what I'm doing in terms of adult education about environmental issues, that's Better World Magic. To see the kind of stuff that I do with children, that's Cyril the Sorcerer. But please, I'm just happy to help you learn to do magic if you want to do magic, or just learn a few magicians' tricks to help you reach your community with a few props, or for the game, or something of that sort. So let's open up if we can, see if people have had any chat questions. Torrin, how would you like to handle this?
I do just have one question in the chat before anybody else removes themselves on mute. Diane loves the discussion. For those towns that use trucks with grabber arms, how can they see plastic trash bags and improper items? As well as speak about the contamination rates for towns/cities with grabber arms versus private haulers.
Ooh, wow, you're getting into technical details that I probably can't answer, but I'll try. So grabber arms, a lot of times, the really contaminated recycling carts, at least in Waterbury, have trash popping up the lid. So it's not always the case. But if the guy is driving up to a recycling cart and he can see a plastic bag, over the top of the lid, then he realizes, oh, this is a problem. Now, there may be plastic bags inside a cart that's fully closed and we just don't see it. Those probably end up going to the MRF, where they will be sorting it out, and they don't like the plastic bag at all. It's a big problem for them. So that's a good question. In some communities, they have cameras. We don't have a camera. So the guy may not see it. The guy can look, but I think it would be very hard for our drivers, given our circumstances, to actually hit the button to make the thing and then look out and see that being tipped. And if they do see it, it's too late. It's already going in. We advise our drivers to put oops tags on. To be frank, they're not doing it as often as we would like. The drivers get busy. I want to get done. I want to get it done. They'll come and tell me, hey, this place is a mess. I said, did you put an oops tag on it? Well, no, I didn't put an oops tag on it. So working with your drivers to try to get them to be a part of the educational process is tough. But I think that may depend on union issues. It may depend upon whether it's a private hauler or whether it's city employees that are doing that. That's a really, really good question. Contamination rates versus side and rear, that's a really good one. I haven't seen any documentation of that. I would guess that the rear loading carts would get seen. The drivers, the guys jumping off the back would be able to take a look at them and would be able to say, oh, this is contaminated, I'm leaving it. So that could be the case. However, this may be getting to a socioeconomic minefield. The one-armed trucks are often being used in more suburban and rural areas where, at least in Waterbury, we tend to have less contamination. So it may not be a question of the type of arm, it's just the communities they're dealing with. Whereas the guys who are jumping off the back of the truck and tipping those carts there are often working in rental property areas, where, as I've said, anecdotally, we see higher levels of contamination. And again, I think it's because people don't feel fully invested in that household. It's also because when you have three families, Torrin and Lynn might be doing a good job at our three-family house, but I might be a jerk. And so I throw all of my trash into their recycling carts. So we have three recycling carts that now have gotten contaminated because of one non-recycler. So that makes three-family house recycling, which is typically done by a rear loader, more prone to contamination. And again, it's not necessarily technology, it's where that technology is being used. But really good questions. I wish I had better answers for you. Thank you. Yes.
Diane. I see Patrice having a hand up, and then we also have a question in chat from Grace. So Patrice.
Thank you. And great presentation, Cyril, like very, very informative. I just have a question about recycling. We're told in our town anyway that you shouldn't put anything in the recycling bin unless it's been rinsed or wiped out or whatever. And how does that get controlled for? And is that as important? And I'm thinking also of your bins along the wall where somebody's eating something and they don't really have the ability maybe to clean it out. So can they just put it in the recycling? I have two questions. That was one of them. And the other question is the water bottle that you showed that has that ring, that wrapper around it. I assume that wrapper is also recycled. It's not a problem for that to be right.
Good questions, both. So I'm going to give you as best I can. So I should check with Cheryl Baldwin at Deep for Recycle CT, but the standard thing is please remove as much food as possible from any containers that you're putting in. I think it doesn't have to be cleaned. I knew some people who dishwasher their recyclables. Oh my gosh, so if I have a soda can or something like that, I try to pour it out. Is there a drip or drop in there? Fine, that's fine. When I eat a yogurt cup like that, yogurt cups can be recycled. I try to scrape it out with my spoon to get all the yogurt out. Is there still a little bit of yogurt in there? Yeah. If I'm near a sink, I will give it a little rinse. but it does not have to be clean. I mean, capital C, clean. If I had a big tray of lasagna because we were having a birthday party, that's a little bit more. You don't want to have half a lasagna in there. You don't want, ideally, you're going to give that thing a rinse. And if it's really got some baked on lasagna cheese and stuff like that, see if you can get that off. But I usually try to have it be a tablespoon or less of residue in things. But it also depends upon the material too. Aluminum is, if things are too heavy, then they just won't get sorted properly. Aluminum is light, but if aluminum is heavy because there's lots of lasagna, not only will it be nasty, but also will be too heavy to be sorted properly. So try to get it all out as much as you can. Rinse it if you can, but you don't necessarily need to rinse it. Good question. Second question you had was regarding, I'm sorry.
The water bottle thing, I assume that's plastic and recyclable, so it's not
a
problem.
I don't think anybody likes this label. This is actually not a paper label as many of us remember from 20 years ago. It's a plastic label. I'm betting you that these guys don't like the plastic label. I would love to see that change, but it still can be recycled. I think that there is some screening that does happen, not only at the MRF, but also when all of this PET plastic goes back to a PET plastic place. They're going to grind that stuff up, and they often do a differential weighting they put it in water. The PET plastic has a different weight and specific density, I guess, than this plastic, and so they should be able to separate those out. They can do a little bit of that. They just don't want masses of plastic bags and all sorts of other problems in there. But those are really good questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrice. Amalia, I see your hand. We have one more question with Grace in the chat, and then we'll go to you. Might be at time.
Okay, so
sorry, Amalia. Grace had her. I wanted to go to Grace first.
Okay.
Cyril, Grace wants to know, where is all the recycled materials going? She's heard that there's challenges with finding markets for recycling.
Good question about recyclables. It's changing all the time, and I'm actually really not up on what has happened since COVID and all those times here, but they're going to various different markets. And so Waterbury's recyclables get picked up by our trucks, transferred to bigger trucks that bring it to the All-American MRF, which was run by USA Hauling. They sort and separate that. And if you want to check it out, share that video. I'm sure they have videos of it on YouTube. It's the All-American MRF, MRF. And it's state-of-the-art, and what they sort that stuff into is just amazing. So they can sort their number 1 and number 2 plastic. They sort glass. The glass, most interestingly, has always been a problem. But Connecticut, thank goodness, is being an innovator. Good old Connecticut Yankee ingenuity. The All-American MRF is state-of-the-art and is doing a better job separating out glass from the crap, the little bits of plastic and other non-recyclable items that often have gotten mixed into the glass and forced it to not be recycled in a good possible way. Now, a lot of that glass is actually coming to Beacon Falls, right down here near Waterbury, and it's being made into positive by a company called Urban Mining. Urban Mining is making that glass into a ground up powder that can replace cement going into concrete. The creation of concrete is very costly environmentally in terms of greenhouse gases. Huge. So building a big concrete structure costs a lot of greenhouse gases. But when you take this glass into it, it can replace up to half of that cement, and it reduces the carbon footprint enormously without causing any structural problems. So I'm really happy to say that a problem material, glass, now is being handled in Connecticut better than probably many places in the United States by local industry. This is something making recyclers like me jump up and down because it's really showing, hey, we can create Connecticut jobs, help fight climate change, and give all of our glass a better place to go than some of the places they were going to 5 or 10 years ago. So that's exciting. So glass is good. Number 1 and number 2, plastic, they certainly have strong markets. Now, here's something that a report came out of, and I disagree with the way it's being shared. A report came out and said 90% of all the plastic that's being manufactured is never being recycled. Well, they're right, because 90% of the plastic was never intended to be recycled. They didn't say 90% of your plastic going into the recycling bin is not being recycled. So that's where I think people are misunderstanding that report. The pieces of plastic in your car are not intended to be recycled, and they generally aren't. The plastic wrap that's around your candy bar, your potato chips, was never intended to be recycled, and it's not being recycled. That's the 90% they're talking about. The plastic spoon that we use was not intended to be recycled. All that stuff is not being recycled. That's the 90%. If you put this into your recycling bin, as long as it's not being contaminated to the point where they have to throw the whole load out, and the trash and recycling truck guys are doing the right thing, this is going to go back and be recycled. So 90% is a different category, and it's really important that when somebody comes to you and says, I'm not going to bother recycling, 90% of the recyclables aren't even getting recycled these days, the report is being misinterpreted or being misshared. And I really protest that that's bad journalism to not hone in on what that means. All right, we have 1 minute, Torin. I want to yield to you. I am happy to talk and follow up with Amalia at any other time. I can stay on and talk for a little longer if you wish. But Amalia, you're welcome to reach out to me at my email address or Waterbury Recycling Facebook, because I want to continue this conversation, because I'd like to hear back from you and what are you using to help bring educational messages to
Okay,
community.
I just wanted something that is for everyone. I'd like, you know, because there's a lot of, I want to talk about Nextrex, and I'd like Sustainable CT to help us get more Nextrex benches and the plastic bag recycling off the ground and shared with everyone, because this is something that we're trying to get started, and it's a little, you know, in terms of how to do that, that's something that I really like Sustainable CT to support. Okay, and I will follow up, Cyril, with you with other questions that I have. Thank you.
Great. All right, guys, we are at time for today. We're going to be sending a copy of this recording as well as Cyril's presentation out to all of our registrants, so you should be seeing that in your inboxes soon. Cyril's email will be on the presentation, so please feel free to give him a chat. And if you guys have any questions at all about Sustainable CT, please feel free to email us at info@sustainablecT.org. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Keep the magic going.
Thank you, sir.